And we are live on YouTube, so you can share there as well.
You said YouTube?
You guys on YouTube too.
Yeah, we have no traction there, but we're there.
it takes some time to build.
Yeah, we're definitely pretty. Yeah, what you did there. No. That was on the list, Frankie. We've just been so busy with some other stuff. But yeah, Instagram, TikTok too are the next things. We need to get clips first. That's the biggest problem.
Like reels. You can get that from videos.
That's what we just have to go do it, basically. And I have not. Basketball just ended like last week, so I haven't.
How was it?
Pretty bad season.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say it was good. Okay.
But it was
okay.
We knew it coming in.
Yeah.
And we lost only 2 guys from last year.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't say 2 of your best players got injured?
And then our best player got injured the game before our last.
Okay.
So that didn't help. Any groups you usually share it? I guess we don't do it live.
Yeah, we don't do live. We record once a week and then we drop an episode a week. But that's really cool. But I like the live concept. We need to do that.
Yeah, Gabe said that the live show is just gonna give you live. You just get random people.
I like it, and good timing. You guys like doing it in the evening, right after everybody gets off work.
Exactly.
Winding down, it's a good time.
Whenever you're ready, Rich, take it away.
Any groups I can share it to? That's it. All right, I'm ready to go. Frankie.
Oh, yeah, you're good to go.
We good?
Yeah, we're good. We are good. Take it away. Sorry, I didn't know you had your headphones off.
Oh, sorry. Just give me a sip and we can get going. All right, let's do it. Thank you, everyone, for joining me again on the Black and Rich Podcast, a podcast designed for Black entrepreneurs to get in business, stay in business, and like the title says, get rich. This week, we're joined by the wonderful Yusra Mohamud of Eat and Talk Podcast, and also works as a business consultant. Yusra, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on. You know, I have a podcast, so I want to have another host on to really tell her story of how you even got the idea of a podcast. I know you're just on the news. But before that, kind of tell me about yourself. Kind of, where did you grow up? How did you get here?
Yeah, so I'm Yusra Mohamud. Thanks again. And I am pretty much a native Minnesota girl. I grew up in the Twin Cities, had the best of both worlds. So I grew up in the suburbs and also South Minneapolis. I spent most of my entire life over there. So, yeah, and I actually did not go to school for business consulting or being a business advisor. It just kind of happened. I actually learned journalism, and that's actually why I do podcasting. So I love storytelling. I love communicating. Yeah, that's kind of how I got to where I was. But I got into the business world because I was working for a financial institution for a little bit over 6 years. And I truly enjoyed it, honestly. I had a really good time. I started off with working with small businesses, and then I went into wholesale middle market banking. And then
As like a business director type role?
As a business consultant, yep.
Okay.
They called it a business specialist for both roles. So yeah, it was same thing, just consulting business, helping them with their finance and accounting. Yeah.
Great. So you went from that, you started at the bank.
Yeah.
What made you get from the bank to where you are now?
Yeah, so that's a good question. While I was at the bank, I was always looking for more opportunities to grow and also give back, really. I wanted to use my skills specifically to give back to the community and the Black community. And I was fortunate enough to, work within the community, although like my office, I, was inside the corporate world. But once I stepped outside, I was within my people. And I decided to join the board of where I work now. And before I even joined the board, I was doing a lot of volunteer work with them. They did a lot of community advocacy work, supporting small businesses, a lot of recovery work, and I just really loved what they did. And I built relationships there. And so when the opportunity presented itself that they had this new position open, specifically to bridge the gap within our communities and support Black-owned and minority-owned small businesses, I didn't hesitate and took that leap. So it's been great. Actually, today's my 1-year anniversary.
Ooh,
where
congrats.
I'm at. Yeah.
I should have brought a gift. You should have told me.
It's okay. You can bring it tomorrow. Anyways, yeah, so it's been really good. It's a lot of work, and it's so different going from like the corporate world into the non-profit, sector. And I know everyone has different experiences. I know a lot of people are either nonprofit's not for me or corporate's not for me. I truly liked having both experiences. I don't think I could have done one without the other. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. I mean, kind of what you say, you want to help Black people.
Yeah.
Kind of something I've seen in the community. You can tell me kind of some East Africans and African Americans. There's some conflict there.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit to the audience, and how do you see that in their work, and how do you battle against that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Wow, that is something actually I internally and externally battle every day. I generally, growing up here, being born and raised here, I always just seen myself as Black, but I also seen myself as Somali, East African. I'm so proud of my culture. I wear it with my heart. My mom is Eritrean, so I love representing the Eritrea side, even though I don't have as much knowledge. I just, consider myself East African. And then I also really passionately consider myself Black, and when I see someone who's of African American descent, I see them as a brother or sister. But not everyone feels that way, and I understand why. Honestly, I really do, because there's historical differences, really major historical differences, and each side does not understand, the other fully. Although we all look the same on the outside to everyone, police pulls us over, we're Black. When we're filling out work applications, we're Black, we're all Black. But truly, sometimes the East African community, maybe we'll see African Americans getting different treatments or, different opportunities than they would. And then African American community feels the same way. They feel oh, okay, well, you guys are also getting different treatment, different opportunities. And so unfortunately, there's judgment, there's heavy judgment in between the two races. And not even just African American and East African, there's also West African.
Yeah.
That's really big too. There's a difference between the West African and the African Americans, or West Africans and East Africans. And it's unfortunate because we truly all our brothers and sisters and came from one place. But I do get it. I do get where it's coming from and why people feel that way. And once again, like I said, it dates back to the historical differences. We did not have the same experiences that African Americans did. African Americans did not come into the country the same way Somali people came into the country. Same with West Africans. But also, West and East Africans didn't have it easy. A lot of them came from war-torn countries that had to fled for their lives. And African Americans, don't really know the history of where Africans really, what they dealt with. So there is a lot about that, and I try my best to really bridge the gap So when I'm supporting the community, I don't choose like just Africans or just African Americans. Like I'm here to support us, like our BIPOC community.
No, 100%. I feel that as myself, where I'm originally from Liberia,
Yeah.
but I came here when I was 4.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not really Liberian, even though I was born there, but my parents are, my siblings are, and I have that culture there. And then, but you go back to Liberia, they won't see you as Liberian, you know. And there's always been that weird rift, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? I know there's not a great answer, but what can we do as a community to come together? I mean, because you're right. When police pull us over, when white folks see us, all they see is brown. You know, they don't care if you're from Somalia or Nigeria or South Africa. You're just the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say to that, just do your part. You know, don't even focus on what someone else is doing and not doing. And if you want us to be united, do your part. Like, ask yourself first, like, what am I doing to bridge that gap? You know, am I learning and educating myself about other communities? Am I putting myself in rooms with other communities? Like, I make sure I go to African American events, I go to West African events, I go to my own East African events, you know, because I love to learn. And then that's how I network, and then, you know, they learn to love you, you learn to love them. You bring another friend along, you bring another person along, and that's how you get united and more people start to work together. And what I do love, and like big shout out to like Minnesota in general, what I do love is like when large disparities hit and like when big problems hit, like for example, like the unfortunate incident of the murder of George Floyd, everybody came together. Like it wasn't like Black, Somali, Mexican, like everybody was like out there, front line, you know, working together, united. And, you know, so it's sad that it has to be something tragic that will like bring us together. And I wish it was also positive things that we come together for. But I do see these days, and I'm like super proud, there are like great people, great individuals, you know, great network programs and events that do like intentionally try to bring everyone together. And we just need to see more of that. But like I said, just do your part. You know, think about like what you are trying to do or like how you could bridge that gap and go from there.
No, definitely. I mean, I think, at least in my opinion, I feel like it's gotten a lot better recently.
Yeah.
Races have gotten a lot better, which has been really encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, we're all here, so you got to deal with it. Like, we're not going nowhere, so no one's going nowhere.
No.
So got to deal with it.
Well, good. Well, then tell me, how did you get to the Eat and Talk podcast?
Yeah. So Eat and Talk was started by, at the time, was my coworker, Gilbert Semenju. And actually, we were just having conversations. We were both working in the same financial institution, really good friends. And this was also during the time of the pandemic, heart of the pandemic, heart of, the murder of George Floyd. And we just felt like we wanted to make a difference, and there was a lot of negative media at the time about our community, specifically Black folks, like all of us. Every time you turn on the news or one social media was like, oh my God, like look what they're doing. And you know, I know there was riots and things going on, granted, but it wasn't painting a good image about our city, our state. And so, you know, we had a lot of discussions. We threw a lot of ideas back and forth. At first we were like, let's have a radio show, or you know, restaurants are really failing in the BIPOC community because of the pandemic and the riots. Like, how can we incorporate and highlight them? But then it was hard for us to solely focus on restaurants because we couldn't, you know, it was the pandemic. So a lot of them weren't operating, or you couldn't really go in at certain times. They were just serving pickup. So yeah, that's how Eat and Talk was born. We were like, you know what, like, and we love food. I mean, I'm like the biggest fatty that you will ever meet. Like, I can eat for days. I know
that competition. I might give you a run for your money.
Are you? I don't know, because I'll eat anything that you give me, except for pork, but I'll eat anything that you give me. And you know, and my coworker knew that, and my coworker likes food too. So we were like, okay, and he's from Cameroon, and I'm, you know, from Somalia. We're both American, but West Africa, East African, male, woman. We're like, we come from different worlds, but it would be so cool to incorporate that and highlight the amazing people in our community, in the BIPOC, minority, Black, immigrant-owned community. So that's how it was born, and we were like, we just got to start somewhere. So we connected with our producer now, Stephen Gang, and he is just phenomenal. We couldn't do anything without him. He has a studio space in Uptown, business called Nice Guys Corporation, and they do everything. So they have like a podcast studio, they're recording the merch, stitching, printing, business card, you name it. He's like a one-stop shop. So it's like we came to him and we shared our vision, and he just believed in us and was like, I'm on board. And consistency is key. We just started and it just went from there. We decided to never stop.
Yeah. And you're on season 2 or 3?
We're on season 4.
4?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
We just had our 50th episode.
Wow.
We're on season 4. Maybe even headed on to season 5. We have about 10 episodes every season. Yeah, it's been cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you're recently on the news, right?
Yeah, I was recently on Fox 9.
What was that like? What did you guys do?
Yeah, it was really cool. I don't even know how, but I know, so on social media, I was following someone who works for Fox 9, and she's amazing. We've been following each other for a long time admirer of hers, long time admirer of me, and we connected and was like, let's do it. Like, we need to get you on Fox 9, and I was like, we need to share our story, so let's do it. And it just all happened so fast, honestly. Like, we planned it like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before.
Wow.
We came on set, and yeah, I was on TV and I got to share the story of Eat and Talk. It was like a 6-7 minute segment, but it was really cool. I was really nervous. I definitely prefer, spaces like this. And it was live. I told you how I feel about live, but we're here. But it was really good though. Had a good time.
Yeah. So kind of what were they asking? What were they wondering?
Yeah. I mean, they wanted to know, like, what is Eat and Talk? I mean, they knew that just, like, you guys are highlighting unsung heroes within the community. They, wanted to know how we started. They wanted to know, why we started, who we started it for. And, we explained Eat and Talk. Yes, we do eat and talk. I mean, there's more talking than eating, but we do incorporate food in our conversations. And some episodes we don't. And those are actually my favorite episodes because, we say, food for thought. And our, motto is great conversations feed starvations. And we really, really like just having a conversation, like, you get full with knowledge, love, heart, whatever the case is. So, yeah.
Well, great. I mean, what are some challenges you saw? Because obviously I have a podcast. A lot of people are getting podcasts. What are challenges that people who are trying to get into podcasting or trying to get started in that space that they probably won't know about?
I think people just don't know where to start. I think that's the main question people ask. Like, how did you start? Like, do I do it in my room? Like, how do you find a studio? Like, do I find a studio space? I think people just kind of struggle with, like, which direction do they take? And, you could go both ways. I mean, you can rent a studio space, or if you can invest in your own equipment. Like, I'm not tech savvy, so the world would burn down if I decided to take control and do my own podcast. Like, setting up the camera would break in 10 minutes. Like, nothing would work. But if you're tech savvy and you come from that industry and you know how to set it up, I would definitely recommend, like, investing in your own equipment. But overall, it is really nice to find a team. I think it's strong to have a team. Find someone who, it is really good to find a studio space, like a one-stop shop, and to go from there. But figure out who your audience is. What do you like to talk about? Don't talk about something that you feel like you're just going to get views for. Like, if I decided to do that, I would have been talking about, like, pink Lamborghinis or something. But talk about something that you actually have a passion for, that you really believe in, and it can be conversational. I think that's the most important thing. So even if it is something like sports, if you're passionate about sports and you love talking about, like, basketball, football, college, March Madness, like, go for it. Like, absolutely do it. Like, people actually like to watch natural conversations of people, like, who know what they're talking about, or, like, they get excited of, like, seeing different feelings and emotions. Like, I like sports, but, like, it's not my, like, number one podcast that I'll watch. But there are a couple podcasts I enjoy listening or watching because the hosts are just so, like, adamant and so excited about the topic, and I just, like, really like watching them.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Sometimes there's videos I have no clue what they're talking about, and I'm like, the energy.
Yeah, the energy, the energy, the chemistry, the connection, like, all of that is important.
That's great. So as going forward, do you have more plans with the podcast? We're going to go 100 seasons, or what's the future look like?
That's the goal. Can't stop, won't stop. I definitely want to grow. I don't know specifically, like, where I would like to see it. I know, maybe on TV someday. But I do want it to continue to grow. Like as a brand, I would love for it to have, many different sectors. So not just a podcast, but like Eat and Talk being a way of life. That's really the main goal.
That's great. So where can people find you? If you can put on the screen, what platforms are you currently on?
Yeah, so we're on most platforms. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. Our main one is YouTube. We are on Spotify and Apple. And we do have a website called eatandtalkmn.com. That's where people can book us for interviews, can buy our merch. That's a great way to support us. We do have a lovely line of merch. You can watch our episodes. You can learn about us. You can reach out to us if you have any questions there. But we also use our platforms like Instagram a lot. So you can DM us with any inquiries or any questions that you have on Instagram as well.
Are you currently looking for people to come on the podcast?
We're always open. Yeah, we're always open to guests coming on the podcast. We need to get you on the podcast for sure.
So what are you looking for if someone's listening, I want to be on Eat and Talk, what are the criteria you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, it's really like, are you making a difference somehow, some way? And you don't need to be an entrepreneur. Are you creative? Are you an artist? Do you have a story to tell that you feel like is going to change, lives? Or, are you passionate about something that you really want to talk about? Do you have, some sort of initiative going on? Yeah, it could be anything really. You just really have to come on and talk about something of value. And when I'm saying of value, I don't mean like of value to me, but like of value to you. So like be solid and a lot of people that come on Eat and Talk, it's their first time on a podcast. So you don't have to be extroverted. It's very normal to be nervous. It's very normal to be shy. Like we don't bite. That's why, I kind of like the food because that's how we open up, you and everything. But yeah, like feel free to reach out to us if you feel like you have a story to tell, if you feel like you have something to showcase, if you have a gift, if you have a talent, and particularly you are part of the minority community.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I always want to talk to guests about kind of community work they do.
Yeah.
You do the business consulting.
Yeah.
Is there other work or other nonprofits or groups you work with that you want to highlight?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. So shout out to St. Thomas 360 Journalism Program. It's a lovely program for high school students who are looking to learn about the journalism field and not specifically broadcast TV. It could be writing, it could be video, it could be photography, storytelling, news telling. That program really helped me shape my confidence with just speaking in general. And
Say the name one more time.
St. Thomas 360
St.
Journalism
Thomas
Program.
360
Journalism
Okay.
Program. Another great nonprofit that I absolutely love is Best Prep. They teach financial literacy to schools in Minnesota. And they have really amazing financial literacy programs that are absolutely free, great volunteers. And if you're someone who has a background, whether it's communications, branding, entrepreneurship, business, they're always looking for volunteers to go out into these schools and talk about it or maybe teach. And I started off with them a few years ago when I was working for the financial institution, and I've been volunteering for them for a while. There's a shout out to African Development Center, ADC, Minnesota. I'm on the loan committee for them, but they also provide a lot of great programs to help support small businesses and entrepreneurs. And when it comes to different loan programs, home ownership, commercial ownership, like they're the organization I love to refer people to check out if they need support in those cases. So I'm sure I'm missing a couple. There's so many amazing nonprofits that I've partnered with in the past, but those are a few of the key ones.
Oh, that's great. And definitely connecting with the teaching. I love
Yeah.
teaching financial literacy, so
Yeah,
I'd be interested in that.
Yeah.
Well, let's turn to the questions. Are there any questions out there?
No, there is not right now, y'all. I don't know. You don't have your headphones on, but.
Wait 1 second.
Hey, yeah, no questions as of right now.
All right. Well, I have a few. So tell me kind of with the business development and the podcast, I know you wear, are there other hats that you wear that you would want to promote or talk about?
I think those are the main hats. Like, I am an entrepreneur myself. I had a brand that I was working on for some time. I'm not working on it right now, but there are some businesses that I'm looking to go into here in the near future. But like, other than that, I mean, I got a 9-year-old son. That's a mom is the biggest title that I have. I'm the oldest sister. I'm a daughter. I mean, those are probably like the hats that I'm proud of the most and the ones that probably keep me busiest the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about your work with business consulting? Like, what are some things you see businesses struggle with? Some common, easy, fixable things you see businesses struggle with.
Well, so I specifically support like the Lake Street corridor in South Minneapolis. And I mean, it's a variety of things that, businesses struggle with, but I can tell you, like, overall in my career, like, not just like in my role right now, but, even when I was at the financial institution, like, the biggest thing that businesses struggled with was, retainability, retaining customers, retaining employees, and financial literacy. That's the biggest one. Just kind of like not having the key knowledge or expertise of like how to manage their funds. It could be anything as simple as like the difference between gross and net pay, taxes. I know a lot of small businesses in our community are like renters, and like our goal is to like bridge the gap and have them be commercial owners, homeowners, both of that. And in order to do that, they do need the basic knowledge of like financial literacy, like how to build your credit, expenses and all those type of things. So, yeah, I mean, it plays a lot of key, but I think financial literacy would be the biggest struggle that small businesses are dealing with.
I definitely hear that. I mean, I have clients come in who have been in business for 3, 4, 5 years and don't even know what an earning statement is or how to.
I mean, I don't blame them because like until I took my roles, like I didn't know what like half of these things were. Like I had to teach myself because I was forced to because like this was the field that I was in. So, and they don't teach you that, and they should, But there are a lot of programs that are free programs that will like, teach you. And I know it's like annoying just picking up a book and like or going on the internet. I mean, I deal with a lot of minority and English is their second language, so half of this verbatim and junk they don't know.
Yeah.
So there are programs that will support you that you can go to and I'm a visual person too, so there's some people that are visual and they just have to see in order to like actually for it to like stick and connect with them.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then just talk about Lake Street a little bit because that's kind of where you work. Obviously, since George Floyd, there's been safety concerns. Have you seen that affect businesses?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I mean, Lake Street went through a whole recovery process and is still recovering, I think it hurt the community a lot and, not just like small businesses physically, but just, the people that run the businesses, their kids, families, friends that live there. It was a really hard time for South Minneapolis as a whole, and Lake Street did feel a big part of that, and so did a lot of the other corridors. Like I know North Minneapolis felt it, St. Paul felt it, so many places felt it, and we're trying to make sure that we are able to really like support each other and really make sure we grow. Like I said, I keep saying like bridging the gap, but it's so important, like bridging the gap, like building stronger foundations within our family, within our businesses, within our holds. So, yeah.
Oh, great. Well, see if there's any last questions. No more questions, Frank?
I would love to hear more about Ramadan. She mentioned that earlier.
Oh, true. You mentioned Ramadan earlier.
Oh, yeah.
So how does that play into Eat and Talk?
Happy Ramadan. Yes. So usually we kind of like slow our roll in Ramadan because of me, really. I like to intentionally take a step back and focus on my family.
First, there might be some non-culture
Yeah.
guests.
Let's
Can you
talk
explain
about
what
like,
Ramadan
is? So Ramadan is the holy month of fasting for Muslims. So we fast for 30 days from sundawn to sunset. And I know a lot of like people are like, what? You know, how do you do that? Like, how do you not eat? But it's so fulfilling and it's so rewarding. It's, you know, comparable to intermittent fasting. We take a lot of that time focusing on praying. We take a lot of that time focusing on reading intentionally, finding our peace, connecting with our families, eating with our families at the end of the day. And it's just a time filled with like so much ease, and it's I mean, it can be hard to not eat for a long time, especially when breaking fast like at sundown was like 9:30 p.m. sometimes. Right now it's close to like 7:30 right now, which is still a really long time, but it's just really rewarding, and it's a great time. And you know, make sure you try to support small businesses that are practicing, because a lot of the time, like, business is slower during the day, especially like the restaurants.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that has to be really hard.
Yeah, but they do have iftars, so like really breaking fast, like really large dinners when it's time to break fast, and they do really well during those hours. That usually helps make up for it.
So do they stay open different hours then?
You know, the hours does change, schedules do change. Like I said, everybody who is like fasting intentionally like changes their schedule. It's hard to work hard when, you know, you're fasting, you know. So, but they do stay open because, of course, there's practicing customers that will come in that might want food. But it is kind of rare, especially like in, you know, South Minneapolis or wherever, St. Paul. But generally, like I said, iftars like make up for it. I'm trying to think. I don't know in the top of my head, but usually during Ramadan there's large like iftar events, like community events that happen. So if I do like see some, I'll definitely let you know. But yeah, Eat and Talk. I mean, we love to highlight Ramadan. We generally make a couple like posts about like what I just told you, like what is Ramadan, you know, why are we taking a step back? But we find other ways to like keep our page active. So just being like very informative.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
I look forward to going on your podcast and doing the reverse.
I look forward to you coming back. Yeah.
And great information. I just love the building. You know, that's all we got to do.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us for this episode of the Black and Rich Podcast. Hope you're informed about podcasts, about Ramadan, and kind of the dynamics in the community. Hope to see you guys next time. Thank you.